What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, in recent weeks, in recent games, while the game is being played between the Detroit Lions and their opponent, the DSI has their own group chat, and one of the things that consistently happens in that group chat is that Luke G's field review complains a lot about a lot of things, but primarily recently it has been about Jarrad Davis not receiving an appropriate amount of snaps. Now, a stat came out the other day that Jarrad Davis only played in 15 snaps in that entire game during the Week 4 matchup between the Lions and the Saints, and that kind of got me thinking, what other players aren't getting the appropriate amount of snaps? What players could have an impact and are having an impact on the snaps they're playing, but just aren't being utilized enough and aren't being used enough by this coaching staff to have a big enough impact to make game-changing plays. So in today's video, I'm going to go over some of the major players that I think aren't getting enough snaps, aren't being played enough, aren't being utilized enough, and then we'll talk about a couple players that could have their snaps reduced because either they're not talented enough to be on the field, or in my opinion, either they're getting too many snaps or they're just getting beat consistently and they need some of their snaps revoked from them. Now, before you get into the video, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying this Detroit Lions content, consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel, as it takes only 2 seconds out of your day to do so, and it helps me push this channel out to more Lions fans such as yourself. So if you could do that, I would be greatly appreciated for it. But with all that being said, let's get into talking about the snap count, who's getting too many snaps, who's not getting enough snaps, and whether or not this is the reason the defense is starting to fall apart. Now, one thing that is important to know before we get into this is the average snaps that an offense takes in the NFL. And in this NFL season, the average offense averages about 65.2 snaps per game. Obviously some average more, some average less, but as an NFL average, as a league average, 65.2 a game is pretty right around the middle, right around what you could expect your defense to be playing snap-wise for a game. Now, one of the players that I think was severely underutilized in Week 4, and his involvement might get more involved as the season goes on, but Jayron Kearse was not used as much as I thought he would be in Week 4. In fact, he only played in 10 defensive snaps and 15 special team snaps. Now, we all know, we've already talked about Jayron Kearse on this channel. We know how good he's going to be. We know how talented he is and how much we could utilize him to disguise things and, make this defense just better all around. But the Lions coaching staff just didn't seem to use him. He's only played in 3.6% of snaps in the Lions season. Obviously missed 3 games, so that number's skewed a lot, but only playing in 10 snaps on a defense where, that's not a lot of snaps to be playing on a defensive side of the ball. And for a guy that a lot of Lions fans had a lot of really high expectations for, and a player that I still have a very high expectations for, 10 snap counts, 10 snaps of the defense is not enough for him to make a play. You need to put Jayron Kearse out there because he is so big, he's so fast, he's so talented, he's so smart, and he makes plays on the football that just other Detroit Lions defenders are not making on the ball. And so the fact that he's only had 10 snaps in this defense, especially when the defense was getting killed, especially when the defense was not getting any push on the line, especially when the secondary was getting beat by, number 10 Traquan Smith, making him look like a Pro Bowler. You got to put your playmakers out there, and I think Jayron Kearse is a playmaker, but again, you can't make plays if you're sitting on the bench. You can't make plays if you are not out on the field and given the opportunity to do so. So Jayron Kearse is one of the players that I think needs to get more snaps as the season goes along, and I think that the Lions might integrate him more. I think part of it is that he was coming off a 3-game suspension, so they didn't know how he was going to play. They didn't know how he was going to do. So I would expect his snap count to go up as the season goes along, but only giving him 10 snaps, only giving him 10 reps throughout the entirety of the game is very, very much underutilizing this dude's talent and this dude's skill. Now, the next player that I want to talk about is Jarrad Davis, and a guy that Luke G complains about all the time that is getting disrespected, isn't getting enough snaps. And, after looking at the stats and looking at his snap count, I definitely see where he's coming from. Now, Jarrad Davis has only played in 115 defensive snaps for the Detroit Lions, and this dude is a playmaker when he's on the field. He only had 15 snaps for the Lions in Week 4, but in those 15 snaps, he had a couple tackles, and he did force a fumble fumble that unfortunately took a weird bounce, and the Saints recovered it anyway for a lot more yards than it should have been. But, Jarrad Davis made a play in the very limited amount of snaps that he had. He's only played in 42.12% of all the snaps that the Detroit Lions have played on defense. So Jarrad Davis has not been utilized enough. Jarrad Davis is a playmaker when he's on the field. He forces fumbles. He's a good run stopper. He's a good blitzer. He's, not great in coverage, but, he is a playmaker. This dude, if you put him on the field in Jarrad Davis, he is going to go out and make a play for you a couple of times during the game. He's going to go pop a running back in the backfield. He's going to get a couple of tackles for loss, a sack, a big forced fumble, and he is going to make a play that can change the defense. But the Lions coaches aren't giving him that opportunity. The Lions coaches aren't putting him out there enough, and the only reason he has 115 snaps is because he played a lot early in the season. He played a lot in week 1 and a lot in week 2. In the last 2 weeks, they have really benched Jarrad Davis. They've really put him on the bench, and I'm not going to tell you that Jarrad Davis is an elite linebacker. I'm not going to tell you that he deserves to be out there every snap, but Jarrad Davis makes plays when it matters. Jarrad Davis is a sideline to sideline linebacker. He's a good blitzer. He can go get the quarterback. He can go hit the running back in the backfield, and only giving this dude 15 snaps a game, especially after you selected him in the first round just a few years ago, is just like Jaron Kearse, being underutilized as a player. Not giving your players opportunities to make plays is how they become draft busts. Not giving your players opportunity to win you football games is how you become a bad defense, and leaving one of your better linebackers off the field, especially when you have guys like Christian Jones playing a lot more than him, it's a very poor decision in my opinion by this coaching staff. Now, Da'Shawn Hand is the next player I want to talk about. He's only played in 140 snaps. Now, Da'Shawn Hand, despite only playing in 51% of the defensive snaps for the Detroit Lions, he has the second most hurries on the team and the most pressures on the team as of right now. So he has been one of our most effective defensive linemen when it comes to getting pressure, when it comes to hurrying the quarterback, but he's not playing enough. Da'Shawn Hand, just like the past two guys, and I'm going to use this word a lot today, is being underutilized by this coaching staff. If Da'Shawn Hand in 51% of the snaps he's played, because he's only played in 51% of the total defensive snaps on this Lions roster, if he has the second most hurries and the most pressures by a defensive player on the team, why are we not using him more? Why are we not putting him out there more? Why are we not allowing him to go get the quarterback, to go get pressures, to go get hurries, and to force the quarterback to make mistakes? Like, that is something I don't understand. Again, Da'Shawn Hand is being very, very underutilized in this defense. Trey Flowers and Danny Shelton are also two guys that are being underutilized in my opinion. And I know you got to get a rotation in there, but the fact that neither of those guys are playing in 70% of the snaps or more at this point is really, really underutilizing these guys. Danny Shelton has only played in 175 defensive snaps. He's our best run stopper. He is our best defensive lineman, and we are struggling to stop the run over and over and over again. We saw it against the Saints. We saw it against the Cardinals. We saw it against the Packers. We saw it against the Bears. We can't stop the run. So why is our defensive player that is the best at stopping the run, why is our best run stopper only playing 65% of the snaps? Why is he not playing closer to 70, 80% of the steps on the defense? I know you got to get a rotation, but paying a guy to come in and be your starter and be your big run stopper and then only playing him 65% of the time is not enough. You need to put your players out there, again, being underutilized. You need to put your players out there if you want them to make plays. Trey Flowers, I know he's been struggling a little bit with injuries, but he's only played 66% of the snaps for the Detroit Lions. He's played in 182. He's our most talented pass rusher on the field. This dude in Trey Flowers had his sack week 1. He almost got to Drew Brees last week and forced a fumble. Like, he is getting to the quarterback. He is getting pressure. He is getting to the quarterback occasionally, but he is not on the field enough for him to get in that groove, to get into that rhythm. He is not given enough opportunity, in my opinion, to really make the biggest impact, to really change games like we brought him here to do. Now, Romeo Okwara is probably our best pass rusher, or at least our most efficient pass rusher as of this season, as he leads the team in sacks right now with 2, could have 4, was the only really constant source of pressure last weekend against the Saints. He's only playing in 57% of the snaps, so he's playing in more than half, but if your best pass rusher is only playing in 57% of the snaps, he's only played in 150 defensive snaps for the Lions. Again, you're not using that guy enough. If he is getting pressure, if he is the guy, Romeo Okwara is the guy getting you all your pressure, if he's the guy getting you all of your sacks, why is he only playing 57% of the time? Why is he not on the field more? Why is our best pass rusher, our most efficient pass rusher, not rushing the passer enough? Why is he not getting to the quarterback more? Why are you not giving him an opportunity as a defensive coordinator, as as a head coach, why are you not giving this dude an opportunity to continue to make plays, to continue to get pressures and sacks, and continue to pressure the quarterback into making more and more mistakes? And the defense is bad. I talked about a lot of the defensive guys that are being underutilized, but the offense is not much better. And in fact, the offense is really bad if you look at some of the players that I think should be getting more snaps. Now, Jamal Agnew has only played in 49 snaps in the NFL season so far. And, Jamal Agnew, we know, is an explosive guy. He can break off big plays. He's a great punt returner. He is a great special teams guy. And he is very elusive in open space. He can make people miss. And the Lions just aren't giving him enough plays. They aren't giving him the ball enough. They're using him primarily as a distraction. They're using him primarily as a, eye candy, as motion to maybe get the linebackers to jump. But Jamal Agnew can do so much more than just be a distraction. Jamal Agnew can do so much more than just running fake jet sweeps and maybe getting one handoff for 2 yards or something. Like, Jamal Agnew, give him a screen, give him some screen passes, give him some deep shots, give him some opportunities to make plays down the field, because he can do it with his speed, with his work ethic, with the stories that came out during training camp of him dominating training camp. I know this dude can make plays. I know this dude can get into open space and take a football 60, 70 yards to the house. Like, I know he can make those plays. So why is he only playing in 18% of snaps? And by the way, just because they're playing on the snap doesn't mean they're even involved in the play. Doesn't even mean they're getting the football. These are just snaps that, once the ball was snapped, he was standing on the field. These aren't even plays that they weren't necessarily involved in. They were just plays that they happened to be on the field. So only giving Jamal Agnew the ball very few amount of times, only having him on the field for 50 snap counts for the entirety of the first month of the season, is criminally underutilizing this dude's talent, this dude's playmaking ability, and this dude's explosiveness. Now, the running backs is where it really got crazy for me, because I'll talk about all three running backs in this, and I'll talk about all three major running backs in this video, because all three of them are not being utilized enough, especially since we want to be a rush first. Kerryon Johnson, the former second round selection by Matt Patricia, has only played in 70 snaps this year. He's only been in on 70 snaps, and granted, he's played very, very well when he's been in, with exception of that first game. He's played really well in the opportunities that he's gotten, but he's not gotten a lot of opportunities. He's only had 70 snaps in the first month of the season, which is only 26% of the total snaps by the offense. And if you're drafting a guy in the second round, you expect him to be part of the offense. This is a guy that Detroit Lions fans were very excited about. This is a guy that Detroit Lions fans thought would be a huge breakout player this season. And so far, he's been okay when he's been playing, but he's not been getting the opportunities. He's not been getting the touches. He's not been getting the snaps that he deserves and that he has earned in the city of Detroit with this Detroit Lions organization. DeAndre Swift is the same way. He's a former second round pick. We just drafted him in the second round a few months ago, and he's only played in 83 snaps in the entire NFL season. Again, second round pick, you expect him to be utilized, right? You take a running back in the second round because you're going to use him. You take a running back in the second round because he can be a huge part of your offense and he can really become a huge playmaker. But if he's only in on 31% of your offensive snaps, he's not being used enough. If you're going to draft a guy in the second round, he cannot play in a third of your snaps. He cannot play in only 31%. He has to be playing a lot. He has to be an impact player. He has to be getting the ball, and he has to be giving the ability to make plays happen, which we've seen at Georgia, which we've seen in the limited touches he's gotten as a rookie. But you got to use your running backs more. You got to use, all of your guys more, especially if you're drafting them super high. If you're drafting them in the top 2 rounds, you got to use these guys. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, Adrian Peterson is taking those snaps, right? Adrian Peterson is going to be in on a lot. Adrian Peterson is going to be up in like the 60s, the 70s. Well, Adrian Peterson has actually only played in 40% of the snaps for the Detroit Lions on offense this season. Adrian Peterson in the first 4 games of the NFL season has only played 105 snaps out of, the whatever snaps that'll be on the screen, however many snaps that the Detroit Lions have played. Adrian Peterson has played in 39.77% of offensive snaps for the Lions this season. Now, this dude is our best running back. This dude is efficient every single game. Might not have the stats to prove that, but every single game, the defense is scared of Adrian Peterson. They do not want to stop him on the ground, and they are fully committing to Adrian Peterson to stop him. And the Lions just aren't using him enough, just like the rest of these players on this list. Not giving your running backs enough opportunity to make plays is how bad teams lose. Not giving your running backs opportunities to make plays out of the backfield, to either catch the ball or run the ball up the middle or get outside, and just giving your running backs opportunity to make plays is how this team is going to win football games. We talk about it all the time after every loss, after every win, after every single game. I talk about how I think the running backs need more carries. They need to get more involved, and this proves it. If our best running back is only in on 40% of the snaps, like that just isn't good enough. And the running backs, you can run 2 running back formations, you can run a couple different things with your running backs, but the running backs need to be utilized more. The running backs need to be used more. They need more carries, they need more touches, they need more opportunity to make plays, because all 3 of those guys have proven in this NFL season that they can make plays. All 3 of them have shown that they can score touchdowns for this team. All 3 of them have shown that they can extend drives and extend plays and make plays happen when not a lot is there, but they're not being given the opportunity to make as many plays as they could be. I say all of this and I mention all of these players that could have a huge impact on the team, from Jaron Kearse, Gerard Davis, Deshaun Hand, Romeo Okwara, Danny Shelton, Trey Flowers, Jamal Agnew, Kerryon, Adrian Peterson. All of these guys should be players that the Lions depend on. All of these guys should be players that the defense and the offense lean on to help them win football games. But out of every name that I just put on that list, the highest snap count that any of those players has ever gotten is 182 possible snaps, and that is only 66% of the total snap count that is available. So out of all of those playmakers, out of all those players I just listed, the best and the player that is on the field of the most out of those is Trey Flowers with 66% of the defensive snaps. That is not okay. That is not supposed to happen. You do not pay a guy $90 million to play in 66% of your snaps. You do not draft 2 running backs in the second round for them to have 50% of your offensive snaps combined. The Lions are not utilizing their players enough, and these players have talent, and these players can make plays, but the coaches don't let them. The coaches don't put them out on the field in order to make those plays. And you might look at that and say, okay, well, then who is getting the snaps over them? Well, Christian Jones is getting way more snaps than Jarrad Davis right now. He's played 169 snaps for the Detroit Lions, over 61.9% of their snaps. And you might say, okay, that's less than some of the guys on this list. But Jarrad Davis, if he's only getting 42% of the snaps, why is Chris Jones getting 61, almost 62%, when he is by far the worst linebacker on the team, by far the worst starting linebacker on the roster, a guy that no Detroit Lions fans wants to see out there? He's primarily playing that jack role, but he's not any good at it. He hasn't gotten any pressure, hasn't gotten any sacks, hasn't done anything to prove that he deserves a starting spot at that jack position. And then you got Will Harris, who's played in 142 snaps, being the 3rd safety on the roster as far as snap count, but he is by far the worst safety. Why is he getting more snaps than Jaron Kearse? Why is he playing in over half the snaps when other guys that are far more talented and far more capable of making plays aren't getting those snaps? Those 2 players in particular are the 2 that I think need to take a step back, need to get their role out of the defense. They can be role players, they can be rotational guys, but those 2 guys should not be starting. And the only reason that Will Harris's numbers are so low is because in the last 2 games he has been taken out a little bit more each and every time. But the fact that he's played in over 50% of the total defensive snaps for the Lions, he's giving up so many big plays, he's giving up so many points and things, and just he's not being a good shutdown safety like we expected him to be. He's not making plays like we expected him to when drafting him in the 3rd round. Players that aren't making plays need to take a step back, and the Lions need to start giving more opportunity to Jaron Kearse, to Jarrad Davis, to Deshaun Hand, to Romeo Okwara, because those are the guys making plays, but for some reason they're not the guys getting the call to go out on the field as often as they should be. Now, the Lions have a very talented roster. The Lions are not a bad football team. They are not a bad roster. They are just poorly coached, and the coaching staff is making very poor decisions and not putting the players out there, and that is what makes the team look bad. When you draft players in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounds of the NFL draft, they need to be involved. They need to be able to give them the opportunity to make plays, and especially if they continue to make plays, especially if they continue to be a huge play threat, especially if they continue to make plays on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, you need to give them more and more snaps. We have Jarrad Davis, who was drafted in the 1st round, Jelani Tavai, Kadarian Johnson, and DeAndre Swift that were all drafted in the 2nd round. All of those players are not playing enough. All of those players should be role players. All of those players should be key impact players for this team, but for one reason or another, the coaching staff, the Darrell Bevels, the Corey Unlins, the Matt Patricia are just refusing to put those guys out there enough in order to make plays and help this team win football games. Now, with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. Again, as I said, this just was a very intriguing topic to me because, we talk about how talented this Lions team could be, but talent can't do anything for your football team if it's sitting on the bench and not being utilized. Talent can't do anything for you if talent can't do anything for you if it's not being utilized. And that is exactly what the Detroit Lions problem is. They're not utilizing their playmakers. They're not using their big play guys enough. And that is why the Detroit Lions defense is as bad as it is. That is why the Detroit Lions offense isn't as explosive as we thought it would be, because all the big players, all the guys that can get you big plays are not playing enough and are not playing as often as they should. Now, with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. If there is Lions news before tomorrow, then I will obviously make a video letting every single person know. But if there is no Lions news, then that is all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if there is no Lions news before tomorrow, then I will see you all tomorrow with more Detroit Lions content. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.